the uninitiated.
Hello, I'm Nick Briggs, and I'm the co-executive producer of Big Finish. Good evening.
My name's Jason Hair-Gallery. I'm the co-executive producer of Big Finish, and
the owner.
And I'm obviously here. This is Rob Shearman.
Hello, yes, and I've written a few audios. Yeah, I mean,
Award-winning.
Some of them have won awards, some of them won brickbats. But yes,
We've actually got very good hit rates actually for awards.
Yeah.
it's true actually.
You're
yes.
writing all this down.
There will be a test.
You seem to be writing it all down.
Excellent. So we're here to talk to you about the introduction of Big Finish.
Yes.
And do you have any questions for us?
Yeah, well, let's start with
This screen is really annoying.
yeah.
You don't just sit behind it.
We have to.
We're used to audio. We don't need to see you.
So as I said, we really wanted to just get you familiar with the catalog to start with.
Nick?
Well, we do when we're on stands and selling CDs. We say things like Blood of the Daleks. Get on for the 8th Doctor. We ask people what Doctor they like, and if they like the 4th Doctor, we often say Destination Nerva because it was the first one we did, or Energy of the Daleks because it's in the first Tom Baker series we did, and it's got Daleks in it. I suppose it's no coincidence that they're both written by me. Also Spare Parts and Chimes of Midnight because they're classics, very highly regarded, quite rightly so. Any other starting points? Storm Warning,
Dark Eyes.
Dark Eyes,
Season 1.
yeah.
That's a good starting point again. There's quite a few starting points for McGann. How many of you were in the panel we did just earlier? Oh, a few of you. Okay. So we talked quite a lot about McGann, obviously, and what we did with his Doctor, to bring him forward. And because of that, he's more our Doctor in some respects, in terms of we shaped a lot about him. It's actually, someone remarked to me the other day, actually, it's amazing how many stories we've got in between Planets of Fire and Cakes of Amazani. There's now like 58 stories between the two, and whole companions, because Eremen is in that slot.
Yeah.
So one of the things we have done is create audio companions, some of whom have been incredibly memorable and have been incredibly popular. Charlotte Pollard, for example. Evelyn Smythe.
Evelyn Smythe, yeah.
Yes, there we go. Give her a clap.
She rest.
Yes, very sadly no longer with us. And yeah, I mean it's been a great opportunity for us to create new companions. Yeah.
I'm just reading all the titles and thinking, God, we've been busy, haven't we?
But it is, to be fair, it is like 17 years' work.
Yeah.
This is,
That's when Gary
ended there.
Yes, that's right.
And then all the rest of it,
Yeah.
somehow I've managed to do. That took him 7 years to do that.
What was Gary's last?
Well, I mean, that's an interesting question for me, not for anyone else. I think that the last one that he was Memory Lane, and then I was, making sure that No Man's Land, Year of the Pig actually, because I reversed the order. But No Man's Land I brought forward into that slot. Music. I went, oh, sorry.
Are you going to tell the Dalek that, or shall I?
So then on the first performance, as the Dalek went round, and of course it's going around and kind of looking like this, and when it started looking a little bit cute, and the kids all started coming up to it and touching it, and then eventually they're all holding on to it, and Paul Barnaby Edwards is inside trying to move the blooming thing, and he's got 30 kids holding on to it and each other, and it can't move. And I said to them, I said, since that happened, do you want me to say something next time? They went, yeah, I did. And and I waited until they all got it, and then I went, exterminate, and they all just ran away. So the voice does, it's a bit like, opening your fridge and it says,
Yeah.
it tells you that it's going to kill you. And suddenly this slightly sort of cuddly thing that you're used to becomes terrifying. So Doctor Who monsters are visual. Well, I imagine all of them are. But you can do anything on audio drama.
Yeah.
You know, you absolutely can. There is always a way to do it. You know, and people said we couldn't do the autons because the autons are visual. You can do the autons, it's fine, you can do. You just need to find the way to do it.
Yeah.
You know,
It's one of my favourite scripts, actually,
what?
is,
Brave New Town?
yeah, Plastic People, I was going to say.
Yeah, it was originally called the Plastic.
Yeah, I really love that script.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. You do,
That's a Paul McGann story.
yeah, it's a good story.
We're not letting them ask questions.
No,
Oh, do you want to ask some
yeah,
questions?
questions. Go on.
I have
Oh,
one
you
more,
wanna ask?
Deb.
Yeah,
And
sorry.
would each of you,
Sorry, the screen's in the way. I
Yeah, I
can't.
know.
No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
would each of you tell me a particular scene or performance in a Big Finish audio that,
You hate it. No, I'm sorry.
no, that really, you know,
Okay.
gotcha.
Okay. Neverland, where Charlie tries to talk the Doctor into killing her.
Oh, that is brilliant.
That is brilliant. It's brilliantly done. And
I think you find the music in that scene was very good as well.
who did that?
I don't think there
It's
is
all
any
about
music.
you,
I
isn't
don't
it?
think there is any music in that scene. I think I left it alone.
No, because it's brilliantly done by
Yeah,
Paul and
fantastic
Baindia.
acting.
And at that point, they had such a close relationship on screen, as it were, in inverted commas, and in real life as well. And to have the two of them with Charlie saying, "Just kill me, just kill me," and I remember Mark Gatiss said that scene made him cry
Yeah, yeah.
because he knew how much it meant to the Doctor and the companion. And many years later, Russell sent an email to India Fisher saying if there hadn't have been a Charlie, there would never have been a Rose. And some of the elements which we touched, I mean, it was very brave of Gary to actually, and it was a very progressive thing for Gary to actually move towards, and with Alan and so forth, to move towards a position where the Doctor and the companion could be in love.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
in a sexual way, but in a very platonic way, but could be open about the fact they were in love with each other.
Yeah.
And that's what you got. And that I think, again, you know, Russell would be honest and say that channeled into
Well, it
what
acts,
he
it
brought to
acts as a
Rose.
bridge in time.
Yeah, totally. So there's a lot of things that we did that bridged between
Yeah.
the old series and the new series. And that's one of them. And that scene is incredibly effective. And Neverland is my Lord of the Rings. Funny enough, I drive down to Vegas quite a few times when I'm in LA. It's just for a weekend and so forth. And I don't bother to get the jet because by the time you actually get to the airport, park the car, get on the plane, all the rest of it, you may as well just got on the car and driven. And it's such a great drive, but I can listen to the whole of Neverland on the way to Vegas. And actually, it's one thing I'll bring Neverland with me. And I do that. And it's actually a great experience for me. It's one of those little things I do. And so I will always remember that. I think also some of the performances which Maggie Stables has given, specifically the end of, oh God, brain's gone. Oh, this is handy.
Arrangements for War.
Arrangements for War.
Arrangements
End of
for War.
Arrangements for War. If you've never heard that, basically, if you've never heard, who hasn't heard Arrangements for War? Oh wow! Oh my God! Right. Okay.
It's quite cheap as well, isn't it?
It's very cheap.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Go
very
on the
cheap.
site. Get a download.
Yeah, it's $2.99 on download, but it was all. But you may find they've still got some upstairs on CD. The reality is, it's such a brilliant performance. It's actually it makes you realise just how good Colin Baker is as the Doctor, because you have this circumstance where so many of you haven't heard it. Honestly, it's one of those ones which I would severely recommend you listen to.
Yeah.
Those of you who have heard it, it's great, isn't it? Yeah.
It's the last one I reviewed. Can it get any better?
No, exactly. It's brilliant.
Yes.
Then they start singing.
Wait, what?
So
That's a
no,
different
don't worry
audio.
about that.
That's
No,
a
no,
different one.
you see, I'm just talking about the fact that the relationship between them is so
Yeah.
brilliant. I mean, you get that, and then in the literally the flip side, they're singing and doing Gilbert and
Oh,
Sullivan.
no,
and,
you are
That's
going
right.
to sing.
Hang on,
The
not going to
pirates.
sing. I mean, my vote actually would be for Colin. I mean, Colin for so many different reasons. But Colin was the first Doctor I wrote for, and I was blown away by the fact he was trying so hard to reinterpret the role, but not in a sort of apologetic way. It wasn't like he was saying something went wrong, I need to correct. It was more, I want to develop this in a way that feels interesting and emotional. And there's a sequence in my story, Jubilee, where he's playing an alternate Doctor in the Tower. I don't want to spoil it, but he's in a rather reduced situation in that scene. And when we heard him do the take of that, the second take of that was something which, because Nick and I co-directed, and it was beautiful. Also, Derek Jacobi in my audio deadline. It's one of my favourite things ever because I love Derek Jacobi, and I'm just really proud I got to write to
So
him.
brilliant.
Because he was so nice.
He was.
But he was heartbreakingly good in that audio. I'm very proud of that.
I have to tell this story in the context of me telling this story to Graham Harper, the director, who had directed Derek Jacobi as the Master in Utopia.
Yeah.
And at a BBC party where I think we both had a couple of drinks, he'd had more than me, and it was very, very noisy. And I said, "Oh, Graham, how was Derek Jacobi to direct?" He said, "Oh, no." I said, "Because I directed him for an order." He said, "Have you, Gov? Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah, Gov." And I said, the only thing is, the night before, I had this stress dream about it. He said, "Oh, well," and I said, "Yeah, it's terrible." But I turned up to the studio and I was just really rude to Derek Jacobi the whole time. and I said, and we took him to a cheap pizza restaurant. I said, did you? And I went, "No, this is the dream I'm telling you about." "Oh yeah, yes, the dream." Yeah. And I said, "Yeah." And I made him sit by the window so that everyone could see him. He said, "Oh my God, did you?" I said, "No, this is the dream I'm telling you." "Oh yeah." And then I said, "Do you like pizza?" He said, "No, I don't like pizza." I said, "Well, you have what you're given." I can't believe you said that to me. I said, "It's the dream, Greg!" It just went on and on like that, you know. And so the next day when I met, anyway, go back from the dream, back in time. "What do you mean? It's not a dream." "It is a dream, Graham." No. And then I meet Derek Jacobi.
He
He
was
was
lovely,
so
wasn't he?
nice, you know.
And
It
there
was
was
something
that-
when insanely famous people introduce themselves like you wouldn't know who they were. So he says, "Hello, I'm Derek." "Yes, of course you are.
And if
Go and eat some pizza." "It's just a dream."
we've been warned as well. We've been warned, you know, that we couldn't mention Icordius, and we had to call him Sir Derek, and we had to be, you know, not couldn't take photographs of
No
him.
photos,
And all
no.
of that. He said, "Hello, I'm Del," and he talked about everything you wanted. And actually, and there was that.
And this
moment,
was in the dream. Oh no, it
There
wasn't.
was that sort of dreamlike moment as well, where you asked him to do a retake. In my
Oh,
story,
yeah,
he's
yeah.
playing a Doctor Who writer who was writing the first story, but the whole show gets cancelled.
Oh.
So, and
But he
he's
thinks he's the Doctor.
and he's having to recite some titles. And you said, "Derek, actually, could you just?" There was a slight fluff on this, and he said, I'm afraid I have a funny R." And you said, "I don't want to hear about your funny arse, Derek Jacobi." and there was a moment of blushing where you suddenly realised, it's the dream. I'm now being through to Derek Jacobi.
And eat some pizza.
Eat some pizza.
No, you didn't.
No, I didn't, you idiot. It's just a dream.
Guys, we should probably open it. So, who has some questions? We have a microphone. No?
Step up. Shout it out.
Shout it. Let's start at the front here.
Hello. I'm a huge fan of your work, obviously. It's so great, and I'm here. But, so a lot of us are really, a lot of us younger people are very interested in getting into Big Finish, but it's such a big catalog that it's
Yeah.
daunting both time-wise and monetarily. There have been some rumors online that at some point there might be able to see some service for Big Finish, like Netflix, where you pay a certain amount a month and you get a certain amount.
Rumours.
That's what I've heard, and I wanted to know if there was any credence to this and if we might be seeing something like that, because I know a lot of us would be
It's a
very
possibility
interested in
at some
something like
point.
that.
I mean, we've got to look at what happens outside in the real world, as it were, because it's a big world out there.
I knew you were going to say that. It's just Jason gave that answer once when he was really tired on stage. He was rambling on about something. Anyway, it's a big world out there. It meant nothing. It became the catchphrase at that particular Chicago convention. Whenever we couldn't think of anything, so we go, "It's a big world out there. It's a big Finnish world out there."
Yeah.
It's something,
Yeah.
that
I mean-
we'd be interested in doing. Do you know, there's a really interesting, for me, not for you, so just go to sleep now, question about the future of downloading or streaming.
Yeah.
Because everyone thinks that the future will be streaming, but the point of streaming, you don't know how downloading will just get faster and more efficient, and people will have more space on their devices. So I don't know whether streaming is going to be the future, or whether downloading will be, because downloading will be so easy and quick and easy to store, and storage won't be a problem. So I don't know the answer to that. But
And downloading
part
is
of me thinks
permanent.
that part of me thinks that streaming will be the future, because we all use it. Don't we? I mean, I subscribe to Netflix, and it's really cheap, and you can, you know, stream whatever you like.
It
But
is a
all
very
the-
good point, because I mean, if you look at how many productions Netflix has and how many productions Amazon have, they haven't got anything like this, to be honest. We've got far more product than they have.
And
So-
most of what they do, and this is something worth remembering, you know, has already been paid for. Not the Netflix originals, no, they're made, and then they are made on a lower budget. But, you know, everything we make is paid for by people buying it, and that's it. You know, so we have to make sure, because it's quite a niche market, that means a small-ish
Right.
market,
Right.
but we have to make sure that we can realistically get enough money from it to pay to make it. You know, which is why when people, it's difficult when people come to Big Finish for the first time and they say, well, you know, I can pay $10 and get an entire 26 episode series, and you're asking me to pay whatever for 2 hours. You know, I'm just going to steal it, frankly. And you just think, well, that thing that's available for $10 for 26 episodes has been paid for by a television network and by advertising revenue. That's already dealt with. You know, they can sell it that cheap because all that money is just icing on the cake. You know,
But the early episodes are all heavily
And that's what
discounted now.
I was
exactly.
gonna
we
say,
do
yeah.
discount when we can, but
And some of the sales you guys have are ridiculous.
Yeah, they're
in
really.
a good way.
Yeah,
Yeah, in a good
yeah,
way,
yeah.
ridiculous. Yeah. But how many episodes do you have now that are streaming, or not streaming, they're downloadable for like $3? There's
Yeah.
$2.99. There's 50 from the first set, and then there's various others along the way. There's probably best part of maybe 100. Sue would know for
Yeah.
definite,
Yeah.
but there's something like 150, I would imagine. So in terms of it being introduced to Big Finish, so for example, Arrangements for War, I do believe is in the first 50. Oh, actually, that's 55.
It's 57 in
Is
fact.
it?
Oh,
Right,
no,
forget
it's
that then. However, you could go to.
There's lots of free stuff as well on the site.
Yeah.
If you know.
Yeah.
Well, then I'll point the viewers to those things.
Oh my good, Davros, Master, great stories.
Oh,
All
yeah.
available at $2.99. I mean,
But it is daunting, isn't it, when there's so much stuff? It's the reason I've never watched Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It's like, because people go, oh, this is great, and I don't have enough time, you know. But the fact
Just
of the
skip
matter is-
season 7.
Okay. But the fact of the matter is, you can listen to almost any Big Finish,
Yeah.
and it's fine, you know. There are jumping on points for stories, but all of them, we've made sure that all of them function on
Yeah,
their
it's
own,
separate, yeah.
you know. And it will only, and if it is in the middle of a story arc, and you think, oh, well, how did it get there? It only serves to lure you in to buy some more.
but streaming is something which we're very conscious of.
Yeah, we are
Because-
looking into options of that sort of,
Yeah,
or like a pan Big Finish subscription.
yeah.
But there are all sorts of issues about if productions get added that weren't there when the pan subscription started.
Oh.
You know how.
But
there's
things you
lots
can
of-
iron out.
And there are logistical things about our website as well, because we're fairly unique. I think we are unique, aren't we? In that
Oh yeah.
we produce so much, and also we sell it ourselves, and we have our own download service. Most people use a third-party service, you know, like iTunes. We can't use that as our main distribution thing because these people, you know, because they're running a business as well, take the lion's share
Yeah.
of the
Yes.
revenue.
I mean, we
They take-
invented Netflix before Netflix
Yeah.
did.
They take 70%, you know, and you get 30%, and they can discount it. You might end up with 30% of $1, you know.
Any,
which is- anyway.
any more questions? This gentleman here?
I think one of the best things about Big Finish is that you get to introduce new characters that we've never heard, and we get to create these new relationships with these brand new characters. Specifically, my favorite is Flip. I think she's absolutely amazing. And
Have you met her?
No, never. I'd love to.
How removed?
About the 10th Doctor.
There's the 10th Doctor stuff coming out.
And,
Tenth
and
Doctor.
more Doctor.
In May.
That was quite scary actually, being in the studio and and David coming in and just being the 10th Doctor, just like that. He just, bang. He's just acting machines.
Yeah, and I'm listening to the edits now, then it's sounding
Do we
great.
think that'll be ongoing, or?
At
Like
the
the
moment,
War
we're just
Doctor
doing
and
that
the
one,
Tenth
we'll
Doctor.
see how it goes. Obviously, we'd love to do more. And Peter Peter Davis was talking about how he'd love to do the 10th and the 5th together. And I said, well, can you, and he said, you know, well, I could exert some pressure then. I said, well, consider this me telling you
That'd
to
be
exert
exciting,
some pressure now, please. You know. So, yeah.
I mean, David has such a busy schedule.
Yeah, it's
obviously.
really
Schedule.
So we were very lucky. I mean, that took. It's ironic because someone actually told me off. They said, "Why did you announce both the War Doctor and the 10th Doctor practically on top of each other?" And I said, "Well, first of all, when you get something sorted, it's very hard to keep these secrets. Really hard to keep these secrets. Even if you say to them, this is what happening. We're doing the 10th Doctor. Don't tell anyone. We worry about it getting out there before it happens. And I have a very strong policy of not telling anything until we've got them into the studio, because anything can go wrong.
Yeah.
And the reality was that David took over a year to get into the studio with Catherine, because they wanted to do it together, and they were very adamant about that. They wanted to recreate that relationship, because they're very good friends in real life. They love each other very much, and they wanted to have fun together.
Yeah.
So it was like,
That was
right,
the point of
that
it
was
for
the
them,
point
yeah.
for them. They wanted to do this together. Fine, okay. So the problem is both of them are incredibly successful, very, very busy. So trying to get the two of them together eventually. And then John Hurt contacted his agent, said, would John be up for it? And the answer was yes. Oh!
Yes, when? Anytime you like.
And well, the problem was that he was having, because he'd just finished chemotherapy, he had a period of time which he wasn't working, and then he was due to do a movie starting in January. So it was like, right, so basically we have to do
That's the window.
12 stories with the War Doctor in this slot here. So basically, Nick, get writing. So bless him, Nick had to write the first box set and set the tone, and then other people came and joined you.
I would have liked to have written it all, but frankly, you'd now be talking to a coffin.
So
It's tough.
we've about
About the 10th Doctor.
There's the 10th Doctor stuff coming up.
And
10th
War
Doctor.
Doctor.
In May.
That was quite scary actually, being in the studio and David coming in and just being the 10th Doctor, just like that. He just, bang. He's just acting machines.
Yeah, and I'm listening to the edits now, then it's sounding
Do we
great.
think that'll be ongoing, or?
At the
like the
moment,
War
we're just
Doctor
doing
and
that
the
one,
Tenth
we'll
Doctor?
see how it goes. Obviously, we'd love to do more. And Peter Peter Davis was talking about how he'd love to do the 10th and the 5th together. And I said, well, can you, and he said, you know, well, I could exert some pressure then. I said, well, consider this me telling you
That'd be
to exert
exciting,
some
wouldn't it?
pressure now, please. You know. So, yeah.
I mean, David has such a busy schedule.
Yeah, it's
obviously.
really
Schedule.
So we were very lucky. I mean, that took. It's ironic because someone actually told me off. They said, why did you announce both the War Doctor and the 10th Doctor practically on top of each other? And I said, well, first of all, when you get something sorted, it's very hard to keep these secrets. Really hard to keep these secrets. Even if you say to them, this is what's happening. We're doing the 10th Doctor. Don't tell anyone. We worry about it getting out there before it happens. And I have a very strong policy of not telling anything until we've got them into the studio, because anything can go wrong.
Yeah.
And the reality was that David took over a year to get into the studio with Catherine, because they wanted to do it together, and they were very adamant about that. They wanted to recreate that relationship, because they're very good friends in real life. They love each other very much, and they wanted to have fun together.
Yeah.
So it was like,
That was
right,
the point of
that
it
was
for
the
them,
point
yeah.
for them. They wanted to do this together. Fine, okay. So the problem is both of them are incredibly successful, very, very busy. So trying to get the two of them together eventually. And then John Hurt contacted his agent, said, would John be up for it? And the answer was yes. Oh!
Yes, when? Anytime you like.
And well, the problem was that he was having, because he'd just finished chemotherapy, he had a period of time which he wasn't working, and then he was due to do a movie starting in January. So it was like, right, so basically we have to do
That's the window.
12 stories with the War Doctor in this slot here. So basically, Nick, get writing. So bless him, Nick had to write the first box set and set the tone, and then other people came and joined you. But
I would have liked to have written it all, but frankly, that would you'd now be talking to a coffee.
So
It's tough.
we've about